Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Now, be honest with me. Have you ever thought about doing this? Maybe just put an out of order sticker on your forehead and call it a day. I love that one. Morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning, good morning. And a good morning to you and yours. Zeb at the Ranch on a Tuesday, June 4th, already. June? Come on. I can't hardly believe it. And, of course, we're brought to you by your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for your safe driving. And don't forget, we're also very honored to have many great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance by a patriot. Good morning.
Yes, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, with liberty and justice for all. You know what? That is one divine statement, ain't it?
Well, I'll tell you what, sir. I'm glad you got out of bed and said the pledge. We appreciate you. Thank you, and have a wonderful day. Thank you. All right, sir. Right now, let's go to the weather forecast, and we're going to get things rolling this morning. K&R Rental is our sponsor of our weather at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Right there. You couldn't possibly miss them on the Burley-Paul Highway. All the tools and the equipment, they've got everything. Get outside and get things done. The weather forecast is phenomenal, I hope. Don't forget, they've got all your gardening tools and equipment, lawn equipment, everything at K&R Rental. Roger and the crew open up at 7 in the morning, 678-3122. And right now, here's our weather.
Here's a look at your weather for this Tuesday, and it's going to be another gorgeous day. Wear the sunscreen if you're going to be outside. Expecting sunny skies and a high of 79. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 52. Tomorrow, again, another beautiful one. Sunny skies with a high of 81. Slightly breezy winds out of the southwest, right around 7 miles an hour. For Wednesday night, mostly clear skies with a low of 56. Now, by Thursday, we do have a 20% chance of afternoon rain showers and thunderstorms, but it is going to be mostly sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 83, and as that storm moves through, we could have gusts as high as 21 miles an hour. For Thursday night, maybe a slight chance of some evening rain showers and thunderstorms, partly cloudy skies with a low of 49. Then by Friday, 40% chance of showers in the afternoon, mostly sunny and cooling down to 63. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Whoa, man, we're going to be talking about maybe a 25, 30-degree shift. Oh, my. Weather forecast brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn, right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. As I said, they've got all the best of tools and equipment for your rental. Get in there and check it out. If you've got questions, give them a call, 678-3122, K&R Rental. We have got an excellent program list of guests today. We've got Dr. Paul Nathanson coming on the air at 9:06 and talking about how religion and married couples are happier That's obvious, than most people. Then at 9:30, one of my favorite guests, and I'm very proud to call her my friend, and that's Brigitte Gabriel with Act for America. And we're going to talk about how our illustrious local rag, the Times News, and a story that was put out by the Southern Poverty Law Center, condemned her and called her an hate group. And we're going to talk about that. At 10:06, Dr. History is going to be on the program. And then at 10:32, Pacific Legal Foundation, Tim Snowball, talking about how we are such a divided nation right now. I want to remind everybody, Thursday sale day at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Oh, yeah. Don't forget Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy working at the sale that works for you. Sale time 10:30. Don't forget, Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley, 678-9411 for livestock consignments and sale information. Thursday sale day, Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 10:30. Once again, I want to mention some of our great advertisers. And this one has been with us, I think, right from the get-go, 16 years ago? My goodness sakes, Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Now, I'll stop in there with some of the most crumply shirts and Wranglers and everything, and boy, when I go to get them, I go, whoa, I didn't know I had that shirt. Well, that looks brand spanking new. That's exactly the response you'll have. Oh, and by the way, too, if you don't have time to do your own washing, they will wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes, just like Mommy used to do. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Stop in, see them today. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm going to talk about Obama in just a minute. And then some of the craziest, wackiest stories in the country. I was reading a note that came across my desk earlier this morning. And it was by a team of Canadian researchers. Now listen to this, and we'll get to it in just a minute. A team of Canadian researchers are set to lecture teachers about the moral dangers of letting children play dodgeball. Oh, my. Oh, my. A nation and a world of wusses. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at course 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Now, they get there also very early in the morning at 7:30, and they open the doors and say, come on in, world, for all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. And they've been doing that for over 6 decades, serving you. The very best people, most knowledgeable people at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, Ramsey Heating and Electric. And I said they're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. Call ahead. They'll have your order waiting for you. 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they always have warm winters and cool summers. Quickly, too, I want to remind you before I go to my caller about Denny's Restaurant. New menu choices. Oh, and they are good. How about the banana berry caramel crepe breakfast or the strawberry vanilla crepe breakfast? Oh, I can guarantee that's good. I've had it many times. And, of course, all the different salads with the add-ons like prime rib. Oh, it is phenomenal at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. And they've got another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. You're going to love it. The home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, Denny's Restaurant. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
And a good morning to you, too, like Mr. Rogers says.
Hello, my friend.
Beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Absolutely. Go ahead. What's on your mind this morning, sir?
Well, yesterday I heard that in the city of Los Angeles, the homeless has sued the city of Los Angeles for $600,000, and they have won. Where is the money?
Well, You know, I don't know the validity of the lawsuit. I have not followed that story, Keith, to be very honest with you, because I think there's other stories that are very prominent today. But I don't know where the money's going to come from. I don't know how the money's going to be sent out to various people. I don't know the mechanics of the lawsuit. If they're suing because they're homeless and they're without a job, I don't think that's lawsuit material. I mean, you are responsible for your own being you. I am sick and tired of suing somebody to get a free ride.
You know, this idea of suing someone, like, for instance, this deal about Roundup, where they supposedly give this man millions of dollars, they may have been awarded that, but they haven't got it yet.
Well, yeah, whether they get the money or not, you know, the frivolousness of very, very many lawsuits, it just astounds me how people want to take up the court's time and money and resources for something that's dumb. I mean, a homeless person, now think about this, and give me your short response on this. If you're homeless, what happened? A, maybe you were fired from a job. Maybe you lost a job. B, you lost your home. You couldn't pay your bills. Well, right there, Keith, I think you've had enough moxie in your, 82 years of being on God's green earth, that if something happens to one job, you go out and you beat the leather off the bottom of your shoes to find another one to pay the bills and remain in your home. I don't have a lot of compassion when it comes to homelessness. Maybe I'm missing something.
Well, you are, because these people intend to do these things. It's not something that just happens. They plan for it a lot of times.
Well, it's a shame to think that someone would plan on being destitute and living on the streets with the fecal material and the syringes and the overall human filth. I mean, why would anybody want to live worse than an animal? And I still think and maintain, with all the jobs that are out there and all the marquees that say help wanted, inquire within, I can't believe this garbage about living on the streets. I'm sorry, I can't buy into it.
You know, years ago, not too many years ago, but this guy was going to do a story on homeless people and that sort of thing. And so he let his hair grow long, and beard, and all that kind of stuff, and shaggy clothes, and went out on the street. And after he'd doing this, trying to get an idea why people do this, he said he found it was hard to go back to being a human being.
Oh, my gosh.
This was so lucrative.
Yeah, that's despicable. That's despicable.
Yes,
I got to run and pay some bills, Keith. Thank you so much for your call. Good subject this morning, too, by the way. Thank you. Appreciate that.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. I've got an appointment. When is it? Thursday or is it Friday? I can't remember. I better look at my book. They have started me on a new procedure, and it really, really works to help stimulate some of the muscles in my neck, my knee, and around my thigh area. Absolutely doing a great job. Nick Greenwell and all the physical therapists over at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. The knowledge, the ability, the skills, the exercises, the hydrotherapy pool, it's all there for you to get back to being you. They're located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. The number to call, 678-1191. Do it today. Call them. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Real quick, before I get into our next story, I also want to remind you about our friends Jake and the crew over at Rain for Rent. You know, they had about 3.5 weeks of just rain, and they were sitting in their office twiddling their thumbs, twirling a coffee cup handle on their finger, but now they are busy. Rain for Rent at 134 South, 600 West of Paul. The number to call, 438-5065. I'll repeat that number, 438-5065. They've got the best of dedicated sales and service staffs to work with and for you for all your irrigation needs. Rain for Rent. Jake and the crew, call them again, 438-5065. All right, calls are welcome. and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Wheels, you might want to check all the dials over there to make sure that the settings are correct, because sometimes I'm getting a whole bunch of feedback down the line and then other times not. Just to make sure, if you would, old buddy, I'd appreciate that. A couple of quick things in the news this morning. Donald Trump, our president, is over in London right now. And just up to the beginning of this program, I was watching some of the news reports with the 6 or 7 hours difference? I can't remember. It's noon over there. And London mayor and a Muslim by the name of Khan is supporting the protesters and supporting the Trump blimp that shows Donald Trump in a not very fashionably correct way. All of this he's supporting. Here is our number one ally, Great Britain. And they're in London, and they're meeting to try to enhance their relationship and make sure that they stay strong for the world. And you've got this imbecile that calls himself the mayor of London, this Khan, that is doing everything he can to denigrate our president of the United States. I heard Trump when he said this morning, and I can't remember exactly all the verbiage, I'm going to paraphrase, he said, how can this guy be mayor and come out and slam me as a representative of the United States when we're trying to work together to make sure that we still have a strong allied force? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. And this Muslim Khan absolutely should be out of office and be a one-bullet Barney. In other words, a one-term individual. Get rid of somebody like him. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Of course, now, I got to tell you, when that starts going down the pike, you've got to start talking about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This woman, I'm going to be doing some research, and next week, I'm going to try to contact some people that live in her Bronx community, Board 11. And I'm going to try to follow up on the story of her meeting with, I think there were only about 19 people in the room, 2 of which were Vietnam veterans, and they got up and walked out because, quote, she knocks the country, she knocks the president, and that is what America is not about. And another of the gentlemen said that she absolutely was saying everything in a negative fashion about America, President Trump. Everything was negative, and they felt an obligation to get up and walk out of her meeting. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a United States Congresswoman that we can only hope is one term. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Come on, give me a call. I'd like to hear from you. While I'm waiting for your call this morning, I also want to mention to you about Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union. Hello, Dr. Bill and the staff over there. You know, every day they get up. Every day is a different kind of a day, serving you and your animals and your pets and making sure that they're healthy and make sure that the worming programs, vaccination programs, everything taken care of. They want you to have healthy animals. That's why they're in that business and that profession. Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Hayburn. And it's true. They have the warm hearts for the cold noses. You call them today at 678-1177. That number again, 678-1177 for Ark Animal Hospital. We also want to acknowledge our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, and they have the home comfort systems. And you can save up to $1,700 in rebates on a new system. All you've got to do to find out more about it is call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459 or visit them online at ramseysonline.com. Terms and conditions apply. See Ramsey Heating and Electric today. This story is so absolutely stupid, and it's a story that, to me, it signifies where we're headed as a society, not only in this country but around the world, where we are raising our young men and, quite frankly, our women to be nothing but wusses that are protected by big government and kind of a surrounding, if you will, a circling of the wagons over everything that they do during their childhood, teen years, etc. Oh, we got to protect them. Oh, no, they can't do that. Oh, no, they can't be exposed to that. Oh, no, oh, no, oh, no. That's the reason when the real life comes up, they are not prepared. And they're like the millennials that are sitting on street corners with tin cups going, oh, man, I can't pay for my college education and I don't know what I'm going to do, so I guess I'll turn into a beggar. This deal about dodgeball may not seem like a big deal to you, but think about it. They spent a lot of time and money in Canada with this research team, and now they're going around, they being these Canadian researchers, are going around to schools to lecture teachers about the moral dangers of dodgeball. They say it's a sport that teaches kids to single out and violently dominate weaker students. Oh, yeah, they say dodgeball is a tool of oppression. And they say it's got to stop. Why? It teaches students to be out of step with the larger curriculum. And they say that it's going to turn them into thugs and bad people. And they say that we conclude that the hidden curriculum about dodgeball reflects the choices of the strongest and most agile students, and it diminishes the value of the not so agile. Oh, please. The researchers said that dodgeball reinforces the 5 faces of oppression. Now, I haven't heard about the 5 faces of oppression, but they are as follows. Those are marginalization, powerlessness, helplessness of those perceived as weaker, exploitation, and cultural domination. The kids are out there playing dodgeball. They're not thinking about marginalization, helplessness of those perceived as weaker, or exploitation and cultural domination. Are you kidding me? These kids are out there playing a game of dodgeball. And they suggest that this tension becomes sharply visible in the common practice of allowing students to play dodgeball, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop. However, listen to this. Parents are finally getting up off the couch and putting down the bonbons and getting involved in what's really going on in their school systems. And 86% of the parents said, wait a minute. You're coming up with all these goofy, wussy ideas to stop dodgeball. 86% of the parents said, leave it alone. You're not going to outlaw it. Leave it alone. Well, it's not just that dodgeball has been attacked up in Canada. As you know, it's already been attacked here in the United States. And a group of teachers in education, here's the key word, experts, yeah, really, attempted to ban dodgeball in the state of Louisiana in 2017, but they failed to get the initiative past the state school board. Finally, parents are realizing you can't protect your kids from everything. There's got to be a competition factor. There's got to be I win, you lose, you win, I lose attitude. You got to learn that to be a part of life. To be a part of life. And I compliment 86% of the parents in Canada that were surveyed said, leave it alone, let the kids play this game. Caller, I'll be right there. Thank you for your call. I want to also remind everybody about Barry Equipment and Rental. Oh, these guys are busy. And they've got 3 locations here in the state of Idaho to serve you with the best of equipment for lifting, digging, pushing, and carrying. I'm telling you, they got it all. Barry Equipment and Rental at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and the Nampa location. I finally found that the other day when I was up there. They've got all the Doosan loaders and the excavators and all the bobcats in various sizes. Holy smokes, get a hold of them today, because whatever you're doing, grading, leveling, laying sod, whatever, they've got the equipment. Barry Equipment and Rental, Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. You get a hold of them now. Caller, good morning to you. How are you?
Zeb, I'm doing great. You know, while you were talking about playing dodgeball, it does so much good for your attitude. It's like football, baseball, basketball, and, you know, I can't think of the other sports at this second, but there's several of them that just do us wonderful things of good. I'm waiting for them to come up with this, pick up the pencil. And it's too hard, it's too difficult. We can't do that. We can't use pencil. Of course, I guess they already have. They're using computers now, and they just punch the keys. But it just makes no sense to me what people in this world are trying to do to our kids. They just want to destroy everything that is good about life and make everything bad.
Well, Jerry, I, for one, and I'm going to probably be challenged on this by someone probably after the program because they don't have nerve enough to call while I'm on the air. But, you know, they always play the little video of the crying child after a T-ball game. Oh, he lost. Oh, that poor child. His psyche's damaged. I think the child should cry. I think he should cry. I think he should sit there and they should say, well, now listen, you lost today, but you got to try harder tomorrow. You've got to get up off your fanny and get out there and play harder and learn to play better and try to progress on your skills. You're crying today, but you could be smiling tomorrow as a winner if you try hard. And that's applicable to life and jobs and everything else. I'm sick and tired of this wussy attitude of, oh, they're crying, we've got to protect them. It makes me sick.
Well, I agree with you. It's ridiculous. Crying does people good, and we need to do it sometimes. Babies do it automatically. You know, they're not always laying there asleep or not moving. Sometimes they need to just cry to exercise their lungs. That does them some good. And I'll promise you one thing, Zeb. It won't be me that calls you anonymously and telling you I disagree with you. If I disagree with you, I'll call you on the air, and I'll state it out front. And I have a few times, and usually I'm proven wrong and you're proven right.
Well, whatever that case is, I respect you and all of my listeners that do call while I'm on the air, because that's a sign that we're both able to communicate and discuss issues. And what gripes me is people that will, under the guise of unknown name, unknown number, will call me after the show and then chew my butt, simply put, and I don't respect that at all.
And I know I've called you a few times, but usually it's for some information or some help.
No, that's fine.
Very good about doing that. So I'm going to let you say, I'll say one more thing. I appreciate what you do. Keep doing it. And let's keep this radio station strong.
All right, Jerry. Thank you. You're a good friend, and I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
May the Lord bless you and your whole audience.
Oh, he has. Believe me, he has. Thank you very, very much. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I found something else that, thanks to my wife, she pulled this off the internet, and wow. I mean, it just is an expose on Martin Luther King Jr. And it is written by a Pulitzer Prize-winning biographer. His name is David Garrow, and I've got some other books by David Garrow on my bookshelf. And he has a Martin Luther King biography, and he has studied many of the reports about Martin Luther King and his life and what he did, his extramarital problems, etc., none of which I'm going to really elaborate on the air because, to be quite frank with you, they are very, very graphic. And when I read all this, and it's about a 3-page report written by this Pulitzer Prize-winning biographer, I wondered to myself, how? How could this man, Martin Luther King Jr., have been made into such a saint and have a day recognized for his life and his achievements and basically revered as, quote-unquote, a perfect person? Reading the facts and the knowledge of this biographer, it makes you think there's holes in the story that we've been told about the great beliefs and the great reverence of Martin Luther King Jr. I'm not so sure. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Hey, now, I know somebody out there is going to say, well, that's racist to say. No, it's not racist to say that at all. But they have praised and given all the accolades to Martin Luther King Jr. But he was nothing more than a human being, a mere mortal, and evidently made a lot of mistakes, more so than we really understood. Dino Septic Service. Don't forget, septic tank pumping and septic tank and drain fields installed, backhoe services, septic inspection, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned, all of this and so much more. What are you waiting for? I mean, don't stand there and try to do this and don't shake your head and say, Martha, what are we going to do? Well, I know the answer to that. You call Dino Septic Service at 436-6526. That number again, 436-6526 or 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service. They are there to serve you, and believe me, with that big truck that says Smells Cargo on the way, Dino's Septic Service. Please get a hold of them this morning. All right, your turn, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587, and appreciate hearing from you, so give me a jingle on the landline. Let's see, what else have we got here? President Obama, you know, this really upsets me to some degree. President Obama is overseas, out of the country, on another trip, if you will, and he's using it as an opportunity to bash America again. He's good at that, unfortunately. And he was over there, and I believe it was in Africa, and he was condemning our ability to have guns. He doesn't like guns. He doesn't like the Second Amendment. He doesn't want you to have guns for your protection. And then he lied. I don't know if any of you saw this or heard this on television yesterday, but in a speech he was giving, he lied when he said, oh, we, the American people, can buy guns anywhere at any time, over the internet, anywhere, no problem, no checking. Now, you know that's a lie. Why would he go over there and lie about gun ownership and the purchasing of guns to foreign countries? He is just helping the left, the Beto O'Rourke's, the Kamala Harris's, the Cory Bookers, others, to come out with their left-wing package of not only abolish the Second Amendment, but to absolutely go with a major confiscation program. Not a buyback program, a major confiscation program, door to door, take your guns, and then we are exactly the same as what's happened in Venezuela recently and other countries around the world in past history. Defenseless. Defenseless against evil. If you think I'm wrong, call me. If you think I'm right, do the same. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Once again, I want to remind you about Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. They've teamed up on your whole home comfort systems. That's right. And they're offering up to $1,700 in rebates on a new system. Check it out today. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Good timing, caller. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Hi, Deb. I cannot believe it that we have to teach this concept to every generation that if we are not strong and we don't protect ourselves, believe me, there's a horde of people waiting right on our doorstep to rush in here and get what we've got, because they're too lazy to work for it and they're jealous. And so if they can get it for free, they're gonna overrule us and take us down. Why don't these people ever think?
You're asking me a question that really doesn't have an answer. Why don't people think about what's going on? Why don't people understand the perils and the evil of socialism? Why don't people understand that Medicare, one size fits all, is not going to work for this country? It's going to diminish and eliminate a lot of the doctors and the research that medicine needs. Why don't people understand that we've got to get our national debt down and we can't keep absorbing all these frivolous high costs of our borders and illegal aliens coming in here to the tune of thousands per day? I don't know. You tell me, Chris.
Well, you know what? We think that we've picked out some pretty intelligent people and sent them out there to do our bidding. And I do believe that as citizens, we need to call those people very often, not just occasionally, but very often, and remind them that they are very strong if they do the right thing. But they're going to tear this country down if they don't do it. And we've got to call them and prod them and be kind of difficult with them.
Well, let me ask you this, and you know for a fact that as often as I can, I do my best to get like Senator Crapo on the air, Senator Risch, and as far as Mike Simpson's concerned, that's a slam dunk the other way. He doesn't want anything to do with our program and talking to you folks on my show. But I'm fed up with the fact that we are paying as our paid leaders that we elected into office to represent us as senators and congressmen. We're paying them to go back there and look nice and nattily dressed with their three-piece suits and their wingtip shoes, and they're doing nothing. Nothing. They're back there, and we're their employer, and they should be fired because they're not getting anything done. Do you agree with me or not?
Well, yes. And on our side of the responsibility, when election time comes up, if we do not go and question them when they're in our area, or we can even call them in Washington, D.C., we need to put the heat on them. And they're normal people. If their feet are warm already, they're not going to look around for, all of those things. They're getting a good paycheck. They're having a lot of fun. Let's remind them that the fun is not on our dime. They better get out this year and come back and work.
Many of these people, everybody says during election time, when you're in the radio or television or newspaper business, boy, it's a great way to make a lot of money and get all their political ads and everything. There are some, and I'm going to tell you this right now, there are some that I will refuse to take the money from because I don't want them on my program.
Uh-huh. You don't want to sound like you encourage them.
That's right. Thank you very much, Chris. God bless you.
Anyway, it's going to be a never-ending problem, but we just have to keep looking at it.
Amen. I appreciate your call, as always. Thank you. All righty. Nice lady right there. And right now I got to get the weather on. Oh, my goodness sakes, yes, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. You know, you can really honestly trust your hearing health to Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Hunsaker, and the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup. I mean, these folks are so concerned about your hearing loss, and they'll find out the answers and help you. I urge you to call for a hearing screening today at 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They're waiting for your call so they can help you. They're located right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather for this Tuesday, and it's going to be another gorgeous day. Wear the sunscreen if you're going to be outside, expecting sunny skies and a high of 79. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 52. Tomorrow, again, another beautiful one. Sunny skies with a high of 81. Slightly breezy winds out of the southwest, right around 7 miles an hour. For Wednesday night, mostly clear skies with a low of 56. Now, by Thursday, we do have a 20% chance of afternoon rain showers and thunderstorms, but it is going to be mostly sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 83, and as that storm moves through, we could have gusts as high as 21 miles an hour. For Thursday night, maybe a slight chance of some evening rain showers and thunderstorms, partly cloudy skies with a low of 49. Then by Friday, 40% chance of showers in the afternoon, mostly sunny and cooling down to 63. That's a look at your weather forecast for Evan Durant.
Man, oh man, just when you think we're going to start rocking and rolling with some summertime weather, bang, they hit us with a 58, 57 high. My goodness sakes. Let's not forget our friends serving you at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They are very skilled and compassionate and understand hearing health. So please get a hold of them today. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I'm still back at the eliminating different games. I think they ought to do away with jacks. You ever had jacks in the house and you step on them, hurt your feet? Another thing, hopscotch. The environmentalists ought to get on those kids. They got chalk marks all over the sidewalk. There's so many things going on that it's just football. Last, 2.5 hours, and us older people, we've lost some cushion back there. We can't sit that long. They need to cut that back to about an hour and a half at the most.
Now, Dwayne, I know you're saying this. I know you're saying this with a tongue-in-cheek attitude, but it all is contributory to the wussiness of America. Oh, we've got to stop those children from doing this. Why, they might get hurt. We've got to stop them from doing that because they might offend somebody. Oh, we've got to stop them from playing that game because when they select their teammates, somebody might feel like they got picked last and so they're not as valuable as the other people. This is insane. You got to grow up and learn to be tough.
That's true. And, you know, the main thing about it is the parents today. They don't want their kid to go through anything, or they're overprotective in that area and underprotective in others.
Yeah.
Your kid has to go through this to learn the bumps and everything of life. I know I went through it, and I know you have, but you just don't grow unless you have some trial.
You don't learn anything unless you stick your foot in the water. You can't check the temperature of the water unless you put your foot in it. And I'm sick and tired of protecting these little kids, these little darlings, all through their life. Oh, don't go over there, Johnny. Oh, don't run over there, Susie. Oh, stay away from that, little Albert. I mean, I'm so fed up with this attitude of wussiness. It's time that we got out there, maybe skinned some knees, or maybe got an abrasion on the elbow. Let's learn about having and enjoying life.
Right, and the thing is, they just raised Cain about smoking cigarettes. It's not good for you. But then you can smoke marijuana.
Yes.
And I know parents that have smoked marijuana with their kids. when they were little.
You know, you just hit it, Dwayne. You hit the nail and drove it right through the board when you said, "Oh, we can't have any smoking ads on TV. No more Marlboro Man. No more Winston cigarettes. No more Salem. The menthol is cool. Oh, but go ahead and open up all the marijuana factories and shops and smoke to your heart's content."
But I think society has, it's totally corrupt, and there's only one way to get it back straight, and that's read the Bible.
Amen. I got another call waiting, and that's a great way to end this conversation. God bless you, Dwayne. Thank you. Thank you. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Second Dwayne's last statement. Read the Bible.
Amen.
Get us back to where we need to be.
Amen.
But, think about in history how things started going downhill when the society was starting to get wussified and coddled, is when we started putting warning labels on things.
It's true. I'm chuckling because it's true. Wheels, we got a little feedback. Ride that game, buddy, please. You're really telling the true story. On everything, whether it's opening up a box of cereal.
Exactly. Don't put your hands underneath the deck of a lawnmower when it's running.
Uh-huh.
I mean, we need to get rid of most of those warning labels, and we could clean up the gene pool, and we'd be back to a society that believes in self-thought and taking care of themselves.
When you stop and think about it, Doug, what you just said, I was trying to make a list here quickly of all the stupid things that we're supposed to be aware of that are just nothing more than common sense. Don't do this, don't do that. It's just common sense, but they've got warning labels on everything. And don't open this up this way because you might get cut. Don't, whatever. Don't. When really, you don't learn anything by having somebody else protect you.
Very true. And when you're a child growing up, yes, parents can control, what their kids do and say and stuff like that, but you need to let your kids fail at insignificant things so they can learn how to succeed. Because you take Einstein or Edison, he didn't create the light bulb the first try. And the telephone the first try, that wasn't created. They failed. Look at WD-40.
Yeah.
He failed 39 times until he come up with it.
Well, you see, your point is so well taken that today, if you fail and your kid's not very good at baseball or your kid's not very good at soccer, oh well, Johnny, don't you worry about it. It's okay. Try harder the next time. They give him a participation trophy, and the kid thinks he's a world's champion, and he hasn't done a doggone thing.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And you should not give a kid an A if he gets a 50 on a test.
There you go.
And that's what it's become. It's become, we can't hurt their feelings because then they'll think they're not worthy of being a baloney.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to get Dwayne and you and I, and we're going to co-author a new book on wussies, okay? I'm not to raise a wussy. I wonder if it would be a bestseller. We'll get Dwayne with all his wisdom and yours, and I'll try to chip in with a couple of things, and we'll just absolutely have the non-politically correct book on how not to raise your kids to be a bunch of wussies.
Exactly.
Doug, God bless you, man. Thanks.
Hey, and one real quick thing I'll let you go is, you talk to oxymorons now and then when you say you're going to run the news.
Uh-huh.
How about Hillary Clinton saying the president is not above the law?
I had to laugh when I heard that because it was the best humorous joke I've heard in a long time. I thought, Hillary, do you have any mirrors in your house?
I'd like to see Hillary go through a 2-year investigation like President Trump went through and come out without even an unpaid parking ticket.
I shouldn't say, well, I can say this because she's my age, and she absolutely is beyond her prime, but Hillary, just sit in the rocking chair, find a cat that won't jump off, and just sit there and have a nice day.
Go for a walk in the woods with a glass of wine, right?
Yeah, but don't go without having one of those electronic devices that can let people know where you are.
Oh, one of those if you fall down.
Yeah, help, I can't get up. And that happens to me quite a bit. I got to run. Thanks, Doug.
Hey, God bless. Everybody, let's do what you can for your senior centers.
All right.
Saying it every time, but they need our help.
Absolutely. Right now, I've got to pay some bills real quick and tell everybody about our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best tires for your vehicles, your cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, everything. They've got all the tires, many of which are on sale right now, and you can save money and drive safely. Stop in and see them today. All 7 locations with the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. But I go back to that word, service. They really take care of you. Good people. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Trent, our old friend over at Burley in the Overland location of Tires West. You stop in, see them today. All good people serving you. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to run to the news. We will, I know there's that oxymoron again. Doug caught me. We're going to go to the news. I'll be back in 7. Don't go away. Oh, here we go. Hour number 2 on a Tuesday, June the 4th already. Zeb at the Ranch, and of course with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, serving you with the best of tires. You stop in and see them today. Also, we want to acknowledge our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, Wheels, this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Always at your disposal. That is really the truth. They love talking trash, and they love talking recycling at Western Waste Services. Always at your disposal. Number to call to get on the route service and let them come by once a week and pick up your garbage. Wave goodbye. It's out of there. It's gone. Thanks to Western Waste Services. Always at your disposal, and proving that by calling 734-6969. You call them today. Want to remind you, too, about Ramsey Heating and Electric, and along with our friends at Lennox Home Comfort Systems, and they're teaming up to offer up to $1,700 in rebates on a new system. All you got to do is call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. Terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Little program note. Want to remind you, too, on Mondays, every Monday at 10:30 during the course of the summer, we have our lovely friend, the lovely Vicky, at Vicky's Country Gardens with the gardening program segment called Green Thumbs, Dirty Knees, and Vicky's Country Gardens on the Burley Paul Highway. Don't forget, for all your gardening and landscaping needs, right there at Vicky's Country Gardens. You know, another gentleman that I want to brag on a little bit this morning because he does a phenomenal job along with his family and his staff. And we're talking about Joel Heward at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. When there's the passing of a loved one, the whole world just seems to be turned upside down. Let them help, always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. And they want to provide the families that they serve serve with the best possible support and comfort. Please call them, Hanson Mortuary, at 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, we go to the phone line, and we've had this gentleman on before, and he's written so many books I can't possibly give them all credit, so I'm going to let him do the bragging on his own writing, and he does a wonderful job. Dr. Paul Nathanson, sir, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you?
It's good to have you back on the program, and it's said in your bio that you are a gender relations professor.
Those aren't my words. My field is religious studies, and I'm interested in the way in which political ideologies on both the left and the right, including feminism, function as secular religions.
All right. Well, be it or not your words, that was what was on the sheet, so I have no control over that. Thank you.
I know.
Let's talk a little bit about religion and happiness and lifestyles and being married and all of this for a great lifestyle. You seem to say, and I hope you're saying that religious couples, they seem to be the happiest couples.
Yes, that's what the statisticians tell us. And it makes sense.
Well, elaborate a little bit on that, if you would, please.
Well, because, apart from anything else, religion is about meaning and purpose and identity. And people who have a strong sense of that their lives have meaning and purpose and identity are more likely than other people to be happy and productive in life.
Mm-hmm. You know, getting together as a family, and I can relate to this, kind of like the old days in America with the cover of the Saturday Evening Post, the magazine of mom and dad and the little girl and her brother going to church on Sunday mornings. I mean, that's the epitome of success and happiness, I think, in America, and it's something the way I was raised. We were raised in a family that absolutely took the time to go to church.
Yes.
What?
I can't argue with that.
Well, you know, the thing is, we've got away from that. Why? Why and how have we got away from that? And why are they trying to fill the void with all these other ideas about, well, you don't have to have a family to be happy. You don't have to be married to be happy. How are we ever going to get things turned around to where the family and God and religion and staying together are primary?
Oh, if I had the answer to that question, I'd have a Nobel Prize. I wish I could give you an answer as to how. I think one answer is we have to stop this polarization between people of different races and languages and colors and and see the underlying humanity of all people. So that's one thing that would at least take away some of the hostility that we find in everyday life.
Mm-hmm. You know, Dr. Nathanson,
in terms of one ideology in particular, and that's feminism,
mm-hmm.
I think we need to stop this polarization between men and women, which basically has undermined marriage and the family. So in a nutshell, that's the answer.
Well, you know, Dr. Nathanson, you hit on something right there that I was going to allude to, and you already kind of opened up the box. The old days of television, like Father Knows Best and Ozzie and Harriet and other TV shows, showed the father as the figurehead of the family, and it was a strong, cohesive unit. Sure, they had their problems, but they worked together to overcome them. And now with this diminishment of men and the value of men, I think that's a big contributory factor as to why we're in the mess we're in.
Yes, well, that was the topic of my the first volume of my series on misandry, which I wrote with Catherine Young. And since then, we've published 3 more volumes in that series. But basically, yes, misandry, the contempt for men, has been pervasive in popular culture, still is. We wrote that first volume about, 20 years ago, and nothing has changed in that respect. In fact, it's gotten worse. So, yes, I think, but one thing is changing now. In addition to the increasing extremism among some feminists, notably supporters of the Me Too movement, there's also been an increase in women who are taking a second look at that and arguing that in some ways feminism has gone off the rails, namely in the promotion of hostility toward men. So that's changing a bit. I don't know if I'll live to see the day when I can actually see the difference in the culture of everyday life, but I think that is changing for the better.
Why did it start in the first place? And I know that's kind of a far-reaching question, but Dr. Nathanson, why did we get away, or what was the reasoning of getting away from, and I'll refer back to the father knows best attitude, and the diminishment of value of the father in the household? Why did we ever let that start in the first place?
Well, I think that's an interesting question, and I think that there are probably several reasons for it. One reason was the advent of the birth control pill, which basically separated sex from family life. In other words, it became an end in itself, a form of gratification, but it no longer carried the responsibility and joy of beginning a family. So there was that. I think also that there was some movement toward identity politics, which began really with the transformation of the civil rights movement into the Black Power movement. And that basically became the standard for every group that sought to better itself through political ideologies, and that included feminism. Mm-hmm. So, there were several historical forces that were involved. There was also an economic change in more and more women were going out to work outside the home. So there were several factors, but I think that the most disturbing one was not simply was not the growing equality between men and women. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. But the bad thing was that it came, to some extent, to a large extent, at the cost of increasing hostility between men and women.
You know, I want to interrupt right there and ask you this question then. The wussification, and I'm going to use that word, of our young men, our males in the school system. Oh, Johnny, you can't do that. Oh, Johnny, you shouldn't do this. Oh, sit over there, you might get hurt. This is all, to me, a kind of a planned approach to minimize and jeopardize manhood in America and around the world today. Am I wrong?
I think that's probably a side effect. I think that's a side effect, and even so, that is probably driven mainly by fear of lawsuits against schools. You know, if children get hurt, then the parents are going to sue the school. So then you have to go back and find out when the trend started to sue. I mean, that in itself is probably a little historical byway, but I don't think that's the cause of anything. I think that's a result.
Okay. We have a caller with a question for you, sir. Stand by. Caller, please, you're on the air quickly. Go ahead, please.
Well, back back when LBJ, and whatever the deal was, I forget, the New Deal, whatever, I forget what it is. I've read it a million times. But when we encouraged, for instance, black fathers to leave the home so their girlfriends and wives could get more money from welfare, it wasn't just the black fathers who left, it was all fathers who left, especially in low-income situations. So they encouraged it. And now that the fathers have left and it's become a habit, it's become part of our social structure, fatherless children, and now the fathers are villainized, and of course some of them deserve it. You know, they aren't fathers. So the whole structure is broke down because there is no family. And throughout the day I listen to ads about how stupid white fathers are and white males are, and how we're played down to be the dumbest things in the world. And it's just a shame. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, please, Dr. Nathanson.
Yes, well, I think that's a very good comment. I mean, the welfare system, which was intended to help people in crisis, but turned into a kind of entitlement for everyone, and ultimately began to discourage women from marrying, because it could, in some cases, it was actually they earned more money alone on welfare than they did by depending on men who could not get jobs because they were undereducated or for whatever reason. So that was an unintended consequence of welfare. I think that what's happened is that men and women no longer need each other in the ways that they used to. Men don't need women to clean and cook for them. Women now, because of the state intervening and providing them with things, don't need men to earn money for them. They don't need men to protect them because the state intervenes with its police and other agencies. So there's been a separation of men and women, even without hostility. It's that men and women no longer need each other in the ways that they used to. If you watch a movie made in the 1930s or 40s, men and women needed each other, and they just assumed that to have a happy life, they would need somebody to fill in the gaps and do what they couldn't do or didn't want to do. So, there was a documentary movie made about 10 years ago called The Ungluing of Men and Women. And it was a series of interviews with men and women in their 20s and 30s. And these were basically successful business types. They weren't a representative sample of the population as a whole. And they were mainly white, but not entirely white. But one of the common themes that they kept coming back to was that they envied their parents and grandparents because they were able to have relationships based on need and not simply transitory emotional gratification.
Mm-hmm. When you say the word need, I've got to pursue that a little bit more. I've been married 47 years. And the progression of your needs and wants in a married life, of course, change decade by decade. And I can't imagine, and I don't want to imagine, a life without my wife. And I still probably would need her more today than ever before. Am I the only one, kind of the freak of nature, saying that?
No, my parents would say the same thing. And my grandparents said the same thing. Now I am not married, and I've learned to get along, and I have a good life. But I have to admit that I do envy married couples, well-married couples, because it's good to live with somebody, and not only to need somebody, but more important, to be needed.
Yes.
We all need to be needed.
So I have to find other ways of being needed, and I do that through my academic work. I think that I'm producing books that are needed. But, I mean, everybody has to have that.
Dr. Nathanson, I want to go back to the portrayal of men today. When you turn on the television set, whether it's in the evening or during the daytime hours, makes no difference. I would venture to say that over 80 to 85% of the media commercials endorsing and advertising any product are going to show the men as inept and not able to do certain things, and the woman comes in and she takes care and handles the whole situation. This whole thing is diminishing men and their value, and I don't see it changing anytime soon.
No, you're right, because I think that, I don't know the stats on this, but I mean, I think that most of the products that are sold on TV are in fact sold to women, even if they're for men.
Mm-hmm.
You know, recently we had a Gillette commercial, a really, really horrible commercial. It must have been addressed primarily to women. And it was all about being the best that a man can be, but they said that, I mean, that's their old slogan, but they said that by showing examples of men at their worst.
Right.
So the whole thing was full of portrayals of fathers beating up on their children and husbands beating up on their wives. That was the message.
You know,
so that's going beyond just men as idiots. At that point, we're talking about men as sinister beings.
Right. You know, I'm almost out of time, but I want to ask you this one quick question. Everything evolves. Everything is cyclical. Do you anticipate that the way that the genders treat each other today will be different 25 or 50 years from now?
It probably will be different. Whether it will be better is another matter. I mean, I could, judging from the way things are now, and assuming that things go in the same direction, I would say that men and women, a generation from now will be living in separate places and just, coming together for minimal sexual contact and then going their separate ways. I hope that isn't the direction we keep going.
Absolutely. Dr. Nathanson, it's always stimulating conversation to have you on the program and talk about what's happening in our world today, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much for taking the time to be on our program.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Paul Nathanson, and the writer of many, many books, Spreading Misandry, The Teaching of Contempt for Men in Popular Culture, and many more. Interesting individual, Dr. Paul Nathanson. Okay, let's pay some bills here real fast and tell everybody about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Oh, my goodness, they are busy over there. You know, Father's Day is right around the corner. And you don't know what to get, Dad? Well, here's what you do. You take and put him in the pickup or the car, take him over to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, march him down the aisle and stop at the recliner section and say, Dad, pick out one. It's on us. Absolutely. They've got all the different recliners, massage recliners and the lift recliners, all the different recliners, all the different sizes. Now, when I say sizes, whether you're real tall or real short or you're real skinny or else another problem, you better try one on that fits you. And they've got the greatest selection right there at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley. You stop in and see them today. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Next week, we're going to be starting a brand new edition of the 2019 The Old Fishing Hole, brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse. It's going to be on Wednesdays at 10:06 with Josh Anderson from Sportsman's Warehouse. I'm looking forward to that. We talked to Josh the other day, and I know a lot of people have already been out fishing. Well, this is going to be quite a program. We're going to be talking about everything pertaining to rods and reels and lures and where the best places to go and how to catch certain fish and everything. It's going to be a lot of fun. Wednesdays at 10:06, brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, the old fishing hole. By the way, I also want to remind you, too, that if you want to get outside and really enjoy the beautiful Idaho outdoors, I urge you to stop over to our friends at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, my. They've got all the four-wheelers, they've got all the side-by-sides, and they've got all the watercraft for the lakes and the rivers. They've got all the fun. They've got all the fun. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. Don't you forget they've got all the accessories too, and very important, a service department to keep you running and having fun. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. It's true. This is where the fun is sold. One more quick note that I want to remind you about is tomorrow on the program at 10:06, we're going to be having agriculture expert Dave Roper on our program, and I want you to remember lots and lots of advice and lots of personal first-hand stories that relate all the way back to the President Bush era when he was back there and talked to President Bush about all our agricultural problems. We're going to be having him on the air tomorrow. Dave Roper. Should be a lot of fun and very interesting. When I talk about interesting people, I want to stop and I'm going to insert this name into the list right at the top of the list because I have the utmost respect for this lady. She is the founder and chairman of Act for America, the largest national security grassroots organization in the United States. She's a New York Times best-selling author of 3 books, the latest being Rise in Defense of Judeo-Christian Values and Freedom. And I introduce her as my friend, and she is Brigitte Gabriel. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb. I'm delighted to be back with you.
It is my pleasure to have you back on the show. I know you've been extremely busy, and I want to get right into the crux of why I wanted to have you on the program this morning. Not too long ago, Brigitte, our local newspaper, the Times News, ran a story that was centered around the Southern Poverty Law Center and how they had listed, they being the Poverty Law Center, had listed hate groups in America. And I was absolutely shocked, and I know you and have known you for years, that they would list you on that list of hate groups. What was your response when you saw that?
Well, you know, the first time they did it, we were very surprised and shocked. But now we are at a place in America where the country is so divided that unless you are on the left using the leftist talking points, if you believe in America the way our founding fathers envisioned it, you are considered a hater, a bigot, a xenophobe, homophobe, and every other name the radical left can throw in your face. But the interesting thing about the Southern Poverty Law Center is it has become a money-making machine for the organization, to the point that they were even exaggerating the numbers, not only lumping everybody, calling them a hate group, people like me who have nothing to do with hate, who don't hate anybody, but also repeating lumping people. For example, my organization, as you know, Zeb, Act for America, we had over 1,000 chapters nationwide. We're over 1 million members. So when the first year the list came out in 2016 or 17, they named Act for America as one hate group, as a national organization, one hate group. The following year, they named 47 chapters of Act for America in different states as 47 different hate group. That's how the list went up more names the following year. And then the reason why the SPLC did that is because in order for them to show how hate is growing in America, all they had to do is add another 50 chapter, another 100 chapters of my chapters, one organization, to their list as independent, different hate organizations, and you can see how the SPLC TLC is beefing up their numbers and using that list to raise money. They are basing it on lies. They are character assassinating innocent people who have nothing to do with hate, smearing their name in order for them to add more money to their coffers. And how much money does the Southern Poverty Law Center has now? Over $500 million, most of it in foreign bank accounts.
Why do you suppose, Brigitte, and like I said, you and I have known each other for quite a few years, why do you suppose that the media and the United States attitude in general is against and can't stand you, they can't stand me for our right-wing attitude, our conservative attitude, and they seem to give allowance and freedom to anything on the left like the pro-Muslim stance, etc.? Why has the media become so biased against conservative people?
Wow, great question. Actually, we started seeing media changing for the last 20 years when we started losing through journalists. And what we ended up with is basically political activists operating as media pundits or appearing on television as news anchors. And as I detail in my book, it started at our universities when the Saudis and the Islamists from the Gulf states from the Middle East started pumping millions of dollars into our universities, setting up Middle East study departments and political science departments, and hiring anti-Israel and anti-America professors to teach our students that America is bad, Israel is evil, and the Islamic world is the oppressed. And so we started seeing millions of dollars pouring in. To give you an idea, $22 million donated to Harvard University from two Saudi sheikhs linked to Al-Qaeda. $28 million donated to Georgetown by Prince Bandar bin Talal. Remember the same prince who gave Giuliani $10 million after 9/11, and Giuliani said, you can take the money and shove it because Prince Bandar bin Talal thought he can tell America how to do our foreign policy. In my book, I go down a list of all the money that has been pumped into our universities, brainwashing our best and brightest who go into journalism school, who go into political science departments. So by the time they graduate, they're completely brainwashed. So when you look today, after 20 years of this brainwashing and indoctrination at our universities, those who graduated are today the news anchors, the news writers, the opinion makers, the policy shapers, and those are the ones who are shaping the future minds of America. So we not only have the indoctrination happening on the university level, Zeb, we also have the indoctrination now happening at the hands of those who graduated and have been graduating for the last 20 years, who now work in the media, who are brainwashing innocent people who are just watching television, getting their news from Good Morning America or ABC News or the Comedy Central. Look, most young millennials right now got their news from Comedy Central instead of news networks like CNN and Fox News. So that's why we're seeing such media bias and brainwashing.
Let me ask you this, Brigitte, and I've said this many times on my program, and please, if you think I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong. But overall, I've been noticing a cowardly act, if you will, by a lot of ministers and church leaders in this country that are not standing up in the pulpit and preaching about Christian values as opposed to the onslaught of what seems to be Islamic values in this country. They seem to be afraid to stand up there and preach really what's happening in America. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree with you, and it is such a sad thing because, look, America was founded on Judeo-Christian values. Our founding fathers, people don't understand when we talk about freedom of speech. Where do you think that principle came from or that freedom came from? The Bible said, come, let's debate, let's reason together. In Israel, religious scholars sit around and debate the Torah as a part of their religious practices. And the reason why this is where freedom of speech came from, because we are, as a part of our Judeo-Christian culture and values, we are supposed to question, we are supposed to debate, we are supposed to exchange ideas. This is how we grow, this is how we learn, this is what we are not basically learning like robots from one talking point. This is what separates capitalism from socialism. socialism. This is what separates great civilizations from oppressed nations like the Middle East and Islamist countries, where you cannot question your leaders, where you cannot debate ideas, where you cannot even question the Quran or what's written in the Quran. And this is why you see societies are very different in the way they prosper and they grow. And the reason for the success of Western civilization is the values that Western civilization was founded upon. And those values are based in Judeo-Christian value system and principles. And so it is the duty of pastors. You know, the Bible says, to whom much is given, much is required. It is the responsibility and the duty for those who have the responsibility of standing in front of a crowd of 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 or more in some of these mega churches, where they are supposed to say, you know what, marriage is between a husband and a wife. Children need a father and a mother. We're supposed to teach our children not to lie, not to cheat, not to steal. Those are principles. These are good principles founded in our Bible and our Judeo-Christian teachings. But unfortunately, a lot of pastors are even afraid to even stand up for these issues. And that's why we are seeing the erosion of our society. And all we have to do is look at Europe and see the result of moving away from adhering to those values, from standing up for those values, for understanding what your foundation is. In Europe, they moved so far away from the foundation that made Western civilization great, the Judeo-Christian values, and this is why Europe lost its identity. That's why it's being taken over by Islamists, by people who do not share the European values, and that's why we're seeing the deterioration of Europe. And now, Zeb, we're starting to see the same thing in America. In my book, Rise, every single chapter of my book, Rise, I detail different issues that we are facing in our country. But I not only give information, I also give people what to do to make a difference for the country. At the end of every chapter, I have a section titled Rise Up and Act, where I give people ideas and things they can do in under 10 minutes that will make a difference for the country, and they can do them while sipping their cup of coffee in the morning, sitting in their pajamas. So I encourage people to get the book Rise, understand what you can do. If you are a member of a church, buy the book and give it to your pastor as a gift. Give it to your elders as a gift. And also, go to our website, actforamerica.org, actforamerica.org, for more information on how we can get the Christian community involved, people involved in our country, to take back our country.
Absolutely. We have a caller with a question. Brigitte, caller, quickly. I'm short on time. Go ahead.
Yes, Brigitte. What's happening in Europe? It's gotten so bad over there, and I know you know this, but the people are starting to wake up finally. But it's almost like it's too late, and they're being inundated by these extreme Muslim groups, and their very societies are breaking down, and the elections in Europe reflect that. But in America, we're so forgiving and accepting that we have Omar and Talib and Sarsour, and we elect how many people that were white elected these people as if they were going to love America. They hate infidels, and they don't love America. They're here to change it fundamentally. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, please, Brigitte, if you would.
Yes, look, Ilhan Omar already said she is there for change because she wants to change policies. She wants to change the way things are. And she already started. Look, they changed the rules for Congress for her to wear a hijab in Congress, while no other elected official before her in the last 300 years that we have had have changed the rules of Congress and their dress code. She did. When Rashida Tlaib from Detroit was elected, she said, I'm here because I want to be a voice to the Palestinian people. She said, I never felt more Palestinian than in the U.S. Congress. You know, this is not what we elected to Congress. We elect people to Congress to represent the people of the United States, not a foreign country and a foreign people. But this is what we get when we turn a blind eye to seeing the changes happening in our country, and we think, well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to offend anybody. Well, we better start offending people now by speaking the truth and standing up for our values and our country before we lose our country the way the Europeans have lost their continent. See, in Europe, like you so correctly said, they're losing the continent because it's too late right now to turn the ship around. They are so far gone. Right now in America, we still have a chance to turn the ship around, and that's why we want people engaged and people involved, and we make it so easy for them with our organization, Act for America. You don't have to learn and monitor what bill's coming down for a vote. We do that for you. All we need you to do is be signed up as an activist, so when we send you an email about a bill coming down for a vote, you can call your elected official and you can express your opinion before the bill is voted upon, not after.
Brigitte, former Attorney General for our state of Idaho and former Idaho Supreme Court Chief Justice Jim Jones, in an op-ed piece that he had in our local newspaper not too long ago, made this statement, and I want you to respond to it. He said, Sharia law cannot be imposed, and there is absolutely no effort by anyone to impose it, nor is there any chance that our courts would adopt it. How would you respond to a statement like that regarding Sharia law?
That's a totally ignorant statement because the first Sharia court was established in Richardson, Texas in the late 90s before 9/11. And that was the first out of now over 145 Sharia courts set up in the United States. We have monitored 145 cases where they were judged in the United States under Sharia law and not under the Constitution of the United States of America. And that's exactly why Act for America introduced a bill called American Laws for American Courts, ALAC. And the bill says that no foreign law that is not compatible with the U.S. Constitution would be allowed to be used in any American courtroom. And I'm proud to tell you that we have been able to pass that law in 13 states, and now we are introducing it in another 10 because we want to make sure that only American laws and the Constitution are used to judge any case in the United States. And I mean any case in the United States. And we said foreign law instead of Islamic law is because we want companies, if you're doing business with Belgium, if you're doing business with France, and you get into litigation, you should be able to be judged under a comparable law. The French law is compatible with the U.S. law. British law is compatible with the U.S. law. But Saudi law is not compatible with the United States law. And that's why we said foreign laws that are not compatible with the U.S. Constitution for that reason. And I'm proud to tell you that we have not been challenged. We have not lost a case. As much as CARE screams and shouts and they say, oh my gosh, you are discriminating against Muslims, we don't even mention the word Muslim in our law. But this is why they are so much against it. And only an ignorant person would say that in America today, there is no proof that there are people who are pushing Sharia law or wanting Sharia law in America, because it is already being practiced here, and the state of Texas led the charge in the late 90s.
Last question for you, Brigitte, and it's kind of a statement and a question combined. We're seeing an insurgence of acceptance of Muslims, Islam, and perhaps, like you just said, Sharia law coming into this United States. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very, very dangerous, 1 not being so much, where are we as far as Christianity being kicked to the curb and Islam coming in and being accepted in this country?
I think it is obvious to everybody who's following the news, Zeb, that we are at level 8, I would say, 8 out of 10. You can now, they are now teaching Islamist courses in public schools, starting in elementary school, middle school, and high school, with trips to mosques. And they are teaching children the 5 pillars of Islam. They are teaching children to recite and memorize verses from the Quran, which is the Shahada, the salvation prayer in Islam. They are taking children to mosques on a field trip as a part of their educational program. When was last time, and I pose this question to every single listener to us right now on this broadcast, when was last time you saw a course on Christianity being mandatory teaching in public classes today, teaching the tenets of Christianity, teaching children to memorize and recite verses from the Bible, and taking children to a church on a field trip as a part of their educational program? Show me one school in America or one history book or social studies books in the United States right now in public school that's teaching the tenets of Christianity and taking children to churches as a field trip. It's non-existent. So we already, saying at stage 8, I'm actually being generous with my defining the stage, because right now we are losing the cultural war. Christianity is under attack, and everything else has a pass. And this is why the people of this country right now need to wake up. This is exactly why we named our organization Act for America. Not think about America, not pray for America, not wish for America, not hope for America. You could do all that, and you should do all that. You should pray and hope and think and wish for America. But without acting for America, nothing happens and nothing's going to change. We need your activism. We need your involvement. I urge you to go to actforamerica.org. Sign up to get our email and action alert. Sign up as an activist. Stand with us. Become a member. If you are able to support us financially, stand with us financially. We need to mobilize the nation to take back our country, because look at what we have in Congress right now. Elections have consequences, and immigration policies have consequences, and that's exactly how we ended up with Rashida Tlaib in Detroit, with Ilhan Omar I was going to say from Little Mogadishu, from Minneapolis, because this is exactly what's happening in the country. In Minneapolis, they established Little Mogadishu because of the Somali refugee resettlement programs, and this is how they ended up in Minneapolis, and this is exactly how Ilhan Omar came to the country.
Oh, one final thought, and I've only got 2 minutes left, Brigitte. Quickly respond about the naivete or the forced ignorance of Congress, the Senate and the House. They seem to be very acceptant of these practices and policies and won't stand up and have any backbone to fight these people.
They don't stand up, Zeb, and fight these people because they are not hearing any pushback from the grassroots. They elected officials lick their finger and stick it up in the air and feel how the wind is blowing. Mm-hmm. And those, I tell people in Congress we have those on the left, and we know exactly who they are, the Schumer, the Pelosi's, the Cortez, etc. You've got those on the right, and you know exactly who they are. And then you have those in the middle who lick their finger and stick it up in the air. And those are what I call the sincerely undecided. They are the ones who are waiting to see how the wind is blowing, and they vote accordingly. And this is exactly why we need to build the biggest wind machine to make them realize that you need to hear from the people. You were elected to represent the grassroots, and you need to do what the grassroots want. And that's where it's important, Zeb, for people to call their members of Congress, to send an emails to members of Congress. And that's what we at Act for America have perfected. We have a program where you literally enter your zip code. When you go on our website on Get Active and get involved or take action, you enter your zip code. You see your, we give you the name of your elected official, their phone number, their email, their address, pre-written letters for them about different issues that we are working on, different bills. With the click of a button, you can send them an email or make a phone call. And believe me, they tally every single email and every single phone call or a letter, because they believe every email or a letter are representing 1,000 voters. They believe that if one person took action, that represents 1,000 couch potatoes who feel the same way but are too lazy to take action, write a letter or make a phone call, but they vote on election day. That translates to 40 to 50,000 votes on election day. Know the value of your vote, know the value of your letter, know the value of your voice, and become engaged. It doesn't take you more than 2 minutes to take take action. I encourage you to go to actforamerica.org and make sure you get involved, because that's the only way, Zeb, our elected officials are going to start listening to the people, because all they care about is re-election.
Absolutely. This lady is my friend, and I underline the word friend, and she always will be. Brigitte Gabriel, founder of actforamerica.org and the author of the latest book, Rise in Defense of Judeo-Christian Values and Freedom. Brigitte, thank you so much for your being on the program. Please come back soon.
Thank you, my friend. Look forward to being back with you.
God bless you. Thank you very much. Very proud to call her my friend, and Deanne and I both met her personally about 5 years ago, and she's been on our program many, many times, and she will be in the future. Brigitte Gabriel, thank you very much. Right now it's time for the weather. Oh, yes, I'm almost out of time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years, and probably serving you now. If not, you should get a hold of them today, especially if you're involved in agriculture, manufacturing, construction business, whatever. You, your family, and your business work with the pros. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. For the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, the list goes on. They've got offices in Burley and Rupert serving you. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather for this Tuesday, and it's going to be another gorgeous day. Wear the sunscreen if you're going to be outside, expecting sunny skies and a high of 79. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 52. Tomorrow, again, another beautiful one. Sunny skies with a high of 81. Slightly breezy winds out of the southwest, right around 7 miles an hour. For Wednesday night, mostly clear skies with a low of 56. Now, by Thursday, we do have a 20% chance of afternoon rain showers and thunderstorms, but it is going to be mostly sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 83, and as that storm moves through, we could have gusts as high as 21 miles an hour. For Thursday night, maybe a slight chance of some evening rain showers and thunderstorms, partly cloudy skies with a low of 49. Then by Friday, 40% chance of showers in the afternoon, mostly sunny and cooling down to 63. That's a look at your weather forecast for us at the Ranch.
Well, thank you, Gina. Appreciate that. And brought to everybody this hour by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. And like I said, they are the best. They are the professionals providing accounting services to you with offices in Burley and Rupert. Let's see. Oh, quickly. I've got to tell you, too, about our dear friends over at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Life insurance, health insurance to protect you, your family, and your business. You need to call them today. Make an appointment, dedicated and responsive to your needs, and very accessible to you. Call, you tell them what you're interested in, what your needs are. They will help you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Here's the number to call. I urge you to do it. 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, serving you. Right now, we're going to kind of close things off for about 7 minutes, and we're going to go to the news from CBS. And then my old buddy is going to be here, Dr. History, coming up in the next hour, followed then by Pacific Legal Foundation, Tim Snowball. So we've got a full hour coming up. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. And with that music and that guitar, I like the way they play that. Zeb at the Ranch, hour number 3 on a Tuesday, June 4th. My goodness sakes, welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of tires and service. You stop in and see them today, along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Want to remind you again, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox all teamed up on the home comfort systems and offering up to $1,700 in rebates on a new system. All you got to do to check it out is call Ramsey Heating and Electric today at 678-0459. Terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Well, on Tuesday, days, he kind of like, what's that, Puscatani Phil that comes out of his little cave? And if he sees daylight, he'll do another program. If not, he goes back in for a month. Hello, Dr.
Good
History.
morning,
How
Zeb.
are you?
I come out whether it's sunshine or rain or snow. It doesn't matter.
Oh,
I'm here.
What are we going to do today?
Well, we're going to talk about the Battle of the Alamo.
Oh, one of my favorite stories.
But this is a little different. This is about some survivors, the women and children that survived the Battle of the Alamo.
Before we get started on the movie with John Wayne, The Battle of the Alamo, I thought, now tell me if I'm wrong, that the depiction and the way that John Wayne is one of the executive producers of that movie back in the 70s, I thought it was really close to historical fact.
Probably close, and I don't remember. It's been so long.
Okay.
But so let's just mention the battle. It happened February 23rd through March 6th, 1836, and it was a very important event in the Texas Revolution.
Right.
13 days, the Mexican troops under President Santa Anna, they reclaimed the Alamo near San Antonio, and I've got to say that's on my bucket list. I've never been there, but I want to go to actually be at the Alamo. I know there's not much there, but I still want to go.
It's going to be a surprise to you.
Okay.
And I think it's going to be a positive surprise, and in some respects maybe a negative surprise. Okay.
Well, so, the killing of the Texans in that battle, Santa Anna was cruel to these guys, the Texas settlers, the immigrants. But anyway, that's where, because of that, remember the Alamo. And then, of course, the Battle of San Jacinto, which took place later.
Absolutely.
Which was a huge thing in us acquiring the land that we have.
Right.
So, but today, I'm going to talk about the women and children at the Alamo that survived. And I'm going to guess that probably a lot of people may think that nobody survived that battle.
Well, that's not true.
No, but there were. So anyway, we remember the Alamo siege and battle for the men who died there. Not as well remembered are their families who endured this 13-day battle, and they were right alongside them in some cases. Gunfire barely stopped in and around the Alamo on the morning of March 6th, 1836, when the Mexican soldiers gathered a group of these, imagine, frightened, traumatized women and children and led them out of the fort. So the facts about the Alamo survivors have kind of blurred over the years. There's some conflicting accounts. There's some guessing by interviewers, failing memories, some bad feelings among some of the survivors. Most of the women and their children endured the battle in a back room of the Alamo Church. A few sheltered in other parts of the fort, and most were lucky enough to have lived through the early morning fight. But with any story, you know that you can have 5 people in the same experience, and they're each going to have kind of a different take on what really happened.
That's right.
So I'm going to start with one lady. Her name is Susanna Dickinson. Now, she receives kind of the most attention as a survivor of the Alamo. A lot of the early newspaper articles and histories incorrectly recorded her as the sole survivor. She wasn't.
No, not by a long shot. No.
And she was the wife of artillery officer Almiron Dickinson. She survived the battle with her young daughter, Angelina. Now, Susanna left a number of conflicting accounts of the Alamo over the years, which kept Alamo historians kind of scratching their heads even today, because she kind of wavered in her story. She remembered her husband rushing into the room to inform her that the Mexicans were inside the walls. He begged her to save their child if the enemy spared her. He returned to the fight, and she never saw him alive again. In a later account, she told of 17-year-old Galba Fuqua of Gonzales running into her room to convey a message to her. Unfortunately, he could not speak since a bullet had broken his jaw, and after several attempts, he rushed back to the battle. So this young boy, 17, was going back in to tell her something, but she couldn't understand it.
So the original report was that her husband came in.
Well, right, he came in.
And then secondarily, the report came that she said that another person representing her husband's wishes.
Right.
I see.
But it was, anyway, she was not able to understand.
But isn't history, I don't want to take any of your time, but isn't history in general, regardless of whether we're talking about the Revolutionary War with Washington and everything, isn't a lot of it hearsay?
It is, and we just have to go by what little information we can get.
Yeah.
So, that's what we've got. But Susanna left stories of seeing one or more of the Alamo garrison and maybe 2 young boys bayoneted to death after they tried to get shelter in the non-combatants' room. Names and numbers vary in her account. She may have witnessed her husband's body being bayoneted and may have been wounded in her calf by a stray bullet as she left the Alamo church after the battle. Now, she, along with Joe, who was the slave of Alamo commander William Travis, later verified the news of the Alamo's fall. They told General Sam Houston. Anyway, Susanna lived out her life in Texas. She married 4 times. She and her last husband, Joseph W. Hanning, prospered in real estate and other enterprises in Austin in the 1870s, and she died in 1883 at the age of 68. Which is not old, but she died at the age of 68. So that's one lady and her child that survived. Okay, the next person, Anna Salazar Esparza. Okay, she was the wife of Private Jose Maria Esparza, along with 4, maybe even 5 children. Okay, so she had all these kids living in there.
At the Alamo.
Yeah, at the Alamo. Anyway, they sheltered in the same room, the Alamo Church, as Susanna Dickinson. So they were together in there. So the Esparzas entered the Alamo at twilight on the first day of the siege. Her story comes to us from some interviews given years later by her oldest son, Enrique. Now, as with Dickinson's account, the stories conflict, and it still is unclear whether the Esparzas had an infant daughter with them in the fort. Enrique, the son, mentions an infant in some accounts. In others, he mentions an older 10-year-old half-sister named Maria Castro by his mother's previous marriage. Besides Enrique and Maria, Anna had the care and safety of her other sons, Manuel and Francisco, and maybe an infant daughter through this 13-day siege.
Were there...
So 4 or 5 kids at this time in the same room where Susanna Dickinson was.
Were there any diaries?
I don't know. Again, I think this is just interviews that took place later. I would hope to think that there are diaries but there again, how accurate are the diaries?
Yeah, really.
So.
I thought maybe there might be something from the various people like Jim Bowie and others that might have kept a day-by-day documentation of the siege.
Wouldn't that have been great to have?
They didn't have anything.
Not that we know of.
I see.
Now, the Mexican soldiers took Anna and her family, along with most of the other survivors, to the house of a guy named Ramon Musquiz in San Antonio and placed them under guard. At about 8 o'clock in the morning, Anna defied the guards and rummaged about this house to try to find some food for her kids and the other children. Well, this guy that had the house, he convinced her to just stay put, and he got some food for them. Anyway, it said that after the release of her family, Anna returned to her home somewhere there in San Antonio, had a rough time for many days. She passed away in 1847.
When you were talking about the kids, I'm going to ask this question quickly. One of the depictions is that they were loaded into a wagon, all the survivors, the mothers and the children, etc. And where did they go? I mean, they didn't have any money to take care of themselves or anything.
Well, and again, they initially went to the house of this one guy, but then after that, they must have had to just scatter to their families. I'm just going to guess. Now, there's another lady. Her name is Juana Alsbury, and her younger sister Gertrudis, and Juana's 11-month-old son named Alejo. Okay, so you got the mother, her little 11-month-old son, and her sister Gertrudis. Now, they say that probably they went into the Alamo under the protection of Jim Bowie, because they being the cousins of his late wife, Juana, who had recently lost her first husband and possibly a young son to cholera, married a guy named Dr. Horace A. Alsbury in 1836. Now, Jim Bowie had sent this Dr. Alsbury from San Antonio on a scouting mission to go try to get reinforcements for the Alamo. Okay, so this Dr. Alsbury left, but he left his wife, 11-month-old son, and her sister at the Alamo. Okay, are you clear on that?
Yeah.
Where we're at? Okay. Now, during the siege, Juana and her small family occupied a room along the Alamo's west wall. It was apart from the other women and children. So this is a different area of the fort. Now, as the Mexican troops cleared room after room on the morning of the battle, Juana directed Gertrudis, her younger sister, to open their door to show the soldiers that women and children were present. Well, a soldier grabbed Gertrudis' shawl and pursued her into the room, demanding her, quote, money or her husband. Well, she told the soldier that she had neither, as the soldiers ransacked the room, taking money and personal possessions left for them for safekeeping by some of the Alamo's officers. So you can imagine the officers, they probably knew this was not going to turn out well, and so they had left some of their maybe prized possessions with Juana in this room.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Juana described a man named Mitchell running into the room to protect her and her sister. She also recalled a young defender running in for shelter. Both died by bayonets before her eyes.
Oh, my goodness.
So
wow.
A Mexican officer entered the room. He took the terrified young ladies and the baby outside, where the battle was still in full force.
It was really a cruel happening at the Alamo.
Yeah, but can you imagine the gunfighting, the shooting, the dust, the dirt,
the cannon fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, as things quieted down, they kind of cautiously made their way back to the room, but were called on by a Mexican soldier, actually the brother of Juana's late husband, who took them into his protection.
Wow.
Now, she and her husband, this Dr. Horace Alsbury, the man that Jim Bowie had sent for help, okay, they actually were reunited in 1836 following the Texans' victory at San Jacinto. So they got back together, and her husband.
But did the Mexicans capture him?
No.
Oh, they didn't.
No, because he had left.
He'd left. Okay.
Right, to try to go get help.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, the doctor died in the Mexican War in 1847, and Juana married again, and she passed away in 1888. Now, her son, this little 11-month-old, Alejo Perez, he holds the distinction as the longest living known survivor of the Alamo battle. He became a member of the San Antonio Police Department, lived until 1918, and died at the age of 83. So he was the last known survivor. Now, Juana's younger sister, this 19-year-old Gertrudis that I mentioned, okay, Juana's sister, she survived the battle, like I said, with her sister, and 5 years later married and lived the next half century in San Antonio, and she died in 1895. Now, 40 years after the Alamo's fall, this Susanna Dickinson, the first one I talked about, she reported somewhat bitterly that Juana and Gertrudis escaped to the enemy during the battle about 2 days before the battle and betrayed the condition of the garrison, and this accusation has never been verified. So why would Susanna Dickinson accuse Juana and her sister of turning on the men in the fort?
I've never heard that.
That, to me, that doesn't sit right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think that's true. And like I say, it's never been verified that Juana and her sister Gertrudis ever did that.
How do you, though, without having both sides of the story and being able to interview part of the Mexican army and or the gallant forces at the Alamo?
Exactly.
I mean, how do you verify this?
Right. You know, the ideal situation would be have a few people from the Mexican side tell the story.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
And some of the people, which they did from the Alamo side.
Yeah.
But even their stories conflicted. So, you know, we just kind of have to take what we take. And anyway, now there's another woman named Concepcion Lozoya. And she had lived in the southwest corner of the Alamo compound in her younger years. She had a son named Jose, and he served at the garrison. Her younger son, Juan, and daughter Francisca may have entered the Alamo under the protection of the garrison's quartermaster, a guy named Melton, and this was Francisca's husband, and he was a merchant. Okay, so you got Concepcion, okay, son Jose, younger son Juan, and daughter Francisca.
Right.
Okay, and Francisca's husband was this quartermaster.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Now, Enrique Esparza entered the Alamo with his family. This is another guy, and added that following the battle and before the survivors were brought before Santa Anna, Francisca, who was married to the English guy, okay, asked not to reveal to Santa Anna that she had married an American. she was told not to be afraid. But she was afraid that if Santa Anna knew she had been married to an American, it might not have gone good for her.
Yeah.
So, this Esparza also remembered a Victorina de Salinas and 3 small daughters as surviving the battle, but provided no further details on this family or why they were in the Alamo. He only stated that he remained acquainted with 2 of the girls in later life. So we've got some more kind of fuzzy history there, okay? Victorina with 3 small daughters that survived and how. Now, the same guy, Esparza, also identified a young girl, Trinidad Saucedo, as being very beautiful. In an interview in 1907, okay, so this is,
We're
years.
talking
years
80
later.
years difference.
Well, 1907 from
1836.
Yeah. So in an earlier 1902 interview, he stated that she left the Alamo during an armistice in the siege. A census lists a Trinidad Saucedo as a 17-year-old servant. So was in there. Now, this Trinidad, at the time of the battle, may have entered the Alamo with this Dr. Alsbury, the guy that had been sent out by Bowie.
Now, when he left to go get help, what was the response? He didn't find anybody?
Well, I don't know exactly what.
There's no commentary on saying whether he got anybody to come help.
And if they did, they were obviously too late.
Yeah.
So another guy, William Neal, lived in 1807 to 1896, and a former mayor of Brownsville, Texas. He told the story of Betty, to Texas Rangers and historian John S. Ford. Now, he related that Betty, and that's the only name we have, a black slave who claimed to have been Jim Bowie's cook, arrived in Matamoros, Mexico, with the Mexican army after the Battle of San Jacinto. Neal, this former mayor, hired her, and she remained with him for 1 to 2 years. Now, according to Neal, Betty survived the battle along with a male slave named Charlie in the kitchen of the Alamo. So they were hidden in the kitchen.
So these 2 Negro blacks were there in the Alamo, and they were saved.
Yes. Now, after her time with Neal, fearful that she'd be carried back to Texas in slavery, Betty disappeared. And this Juana Alsbury stated that after the battle, she and her sister Gertrudis were placed in the charge of, quote, a colored woman belonging to Colonel Travis, which could have been this Betty.
Yeah, and all of this kind of goes along with the movie adaptation of supposed history in the John Wayne Alamo movie, where they showed some of the Negroes, Mexicans, and white Caucasians leaving, the mothers and the children, leaving the Alamo in a wagon.
Now, finally, Joe, Travis's slave, reported that 1 woman died in the Alamo battle. Now, a correspondent for the Frankfort, Kentucky Commonwealth newspaper, in his letter in 1836, he says, quote, only 1 of the Negroes was killed, a woman who was found lying dead between 2 guns. Joe supposes she ran out in her fright and was killed by a chance shot.
Now, what was the treatment? We're almost out of time, and I want you to expand on this a little bit. What was the treatment after the battle to the prisoners or the wives and the children from Santa Anna?
Well, the wives and children, I really don't know, other than I think they were just allowed to...
They were allowed to leave.
To leave and go wherever. But, but there was a young mulatto slave named Sarah, and she ran off to Texas with a guy named Patrick Herndon. Herndon likely rode to the Alamo with the men under Jim Bowie. He died there, possibly with Sarah, the only couple to have lost their lives together at the Alamo. So Sarah and her husband Patrick were the only couple to actually have died together. And, the women survivors, along with their children, appeared before Santa Anna after the battle. Yeah. He interviewed them, and here, maybe this answers the question. He gave each $2 silver and a blanket and released them. And again, these little remembered participants of this battle, pretty much kind of forgotten, really. So some of the women got killed. I don't know that any of the children got killed. But
when you go to the Alamo, I think you will realize and appreciate the fact that it's not what you think as a great big, stalwart fort.
And the pictures I've seen, I agree. And, folks, if you want another story about the Alamo, a while back I talked about, was there a coward at the Alamo? Do you remember that?
I do.
And so go back and listen to that story. So they didn't all cross over the line.
Do a follow-up on this next week. I'd like to hear another story about that as far as leading up to the Battle of San Jacinto.
Yeah, that would be good, just to kind of
you're not going to be here next week. I forgot about that.
No, I'm going to be fishing.
Tough life. I don't know how you stand it.
It's rough. Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's one of my favorite topics is the Alamo and Davy Crockett. And there's been a lot of questions about Davy Crockett and his sidekick, Georgie Russell from Tennessee, and how they died, where they died, all that kind of stuff at the Alamo.
Yeah.
But there again, most of it is speculation.
It is. That's why it's so nice if I can get a hold of a journal or a diary.
Absolutely.
That at least
take Colonel Travis. Now, he had to have kept something on a daily journal.
Well, you would think, as far as military letters or reports of what happened.
What about the responses that he sent out with couriers to go get help? I mean, they must have copies of those, you would think.
I'm going to do a little research, see if I can find some more about that. And I did do some research for this, but I really couldn't come up with that much.
Interesting. I got to run.
I know.
You know what? You did it again. Dr. History. Everybody give him a round of applause. Hey! All right. Good job.
Thanks,
there you go. Keep both hands on the wheel if you're driving. Thank you. Don't forget to, folks, every Tuesday, Dr. History, except next Tuesday, he's going to be fishing. Doggone him. Anyway, Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley for all your electronic needs. Holy cow, do they have a store full. Curtis and Lorena, stop down. Car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems, all the TVs, Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, you name it. Home theater systems, video surveillance cameras. They've even got trailer hitches, towing hitches there. You better stop in today and talk to the people that really care, and that is Patterson's at 421 East Main in Burley. They're open Monday through Saturday 9 to 6, and they're waiting to serve you right now at Patterson's. We're going to send it back over to our main studio. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Oh, thank you. Enjoyed that segment with Dr. History about the Alamo. Hey, I want to remind you, Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox Home Comfort Systems all teamed up to help offer you up to $1,700 in rebates on a new home comfort system. All you gotta do to find out more, call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Terms and conditions apply. See the dealer for details. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Absolutely.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
I've not been able to get a hold of Mr. Snowball this morning.
Well, maybe he melted.
I have no idea.
Okay. I know that number should work, and keep trying. He's supposed to be there. Keep trying, buddy. I'd appreciate that.
All right. Well,
all right.
Sir,
thank you very much. We have just been contacted by our good friend Wheels to let us know that our attorney friend is not where he should be, and that's with a phone in his hand talking to me. Deanne, if I could get you to come in here and try to do a little search and seizure for us here to see if we can find that gentleman. In the interim, I'd appreciate it if you'd give us a call at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give us a call. Here's a story that when I heard this morning, I backed up and I thought, what? The guy can't be serious. Well, the new Baltimore mayor, a black gentleman that has said, well, there's so much shooting going on, we're going to come up with a solution to the shooting. We're going to propose putting up public boxing rings to reduce violence. Now, don't laugh at me. I'm not the one that wrote this. Honestly, Mayor Jack Young in Baltimore said he is considering having people solve their issues in a boxing match. This has got to be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard of in my life. He said gun violence has been plaguing this city of Baltimore for the last 10 years. The murder rate in this city and non-fatal shootings have increased. I'm not happy with it, and neither should the citizens of Baltimore. And he said he's going to propose now that they can put boxing rings up at various locations around the city, and everybody will say to settle their differences, they're going to get in the ring with a set of boxing gloves on. Where did they come up with this kind of a solution? You know, number one, probably the loser's going to be really upset in a boxing match and go back to the perpetration of a much more severe crime using the gun anyway. And the governor, or the mayor, pardon me, said, you know, the best man wins and the beef should be over at that point. I doubt it. I can't believe that I read this, that they're going to try to put up public boxing rings in the city of Baltimore, and that's going to reduce gun violence. Okay. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Wheels, any luck on trying to run down our attorney friend, Tim Snowball?
I haven't, sir. It still goes to his voicemail.
That doesn't make me very happy. So hopefully, keep trying though, because you know he might have stepped out of his office or something, and or forgot, whatever the case might be. And we'll keep trying to get a hold of him. Calls are welcome and more appreciated than ever. So give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please give me a call. Let's see, what else have we got here? We talked about putting up public boxing rings. This is something that really is spooky and scary. That right now, with all the illegal aliens coming into our country, and we don't know a thing about them. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they are. We don't know what they represent. We don't know their health status, etc. Now we are finding out. And for those of you that say, oh, you call yourself a Christian, you're against all these people coming here. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Our porous borders are going to be the death of this United States of America. I'll stand behind that. Now we're finding out that many of these people coming in from other countries as far away as Africa, etc., many of which have been exposed to the Ebola virus and are coming into this country, along with other major dangerous diseases. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again. You know, is this mayor, has he ever thought about bringing a knife to a gunfight?
I don't know, but when you talk about the stupid, underline the word stupid, left in trying to solve problems, putting up and erecting boxing rings at various locations around the city to have people settle their differences, Keith, honestly, that rings true, I think, as being one of the top 10 dumbest things I've ever heard.
Well, I've never noticed any of the boxers, the professional boxers, ever go embrace his opponent after they're done fighting.
Oh, no. Don't say that. Many, and most after a fight with a good sportsmanship. I've seen heavyweight championships, etc. They'll go over and shake hands and give them a good hug and everything. Yeah, don't say that. It happens.
Okay. Well, I guess I don't have a solution then.
Well, the only solution is to this problem. Number one, there's so much gun violence in Baltimore, and you've got to look at the problems. You've got to look at the area. You've got to look at the whys and the hows. You've got to look at how they're living. You've got to look at crime running rampant. Why is crime running rampant? Because in most places, they're not even allowing the police to go in and make arrests and everything. The whole thing is that under liberal leadership, Democratic leadership. Look at the cities that are having the problems. San Francisco, L.A., back in Chicago, now Baltimore. Many other cities in this country are all controlled, supposedly, by Democrat leadership, and that's the problem. Too liberal, too easygoing, and not enough law and enforcement.
Well, let me ask you this. How many times have you seen two people that are really hate each other after a fight be friends with each other?
Well, that was the point I made a minute ago. I agree with you. I think having a fight in a boxing ring, the loser is going to be probably propelled to do something more dangerous to get even with the guy. I don't see how it's going to stop or curb anything. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. He's going to go get a gun, and he's going to get satisfaction.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think you're right.
That's the mentality of these people that are causing the problems.
Yeah.
First of all, they come from broken homes. Why don't they work on something there of getting the home more palatable so that these kids would have a chance from the very beginning?
Yeah. I think that's...
Which they do not have at this point. It's every man for themselves. That's how they've been taught. And I don't think that's going to change.
You know, I think you're right, Keith, but, you know, it boils down to, family values. And there's got to be a sense of right and wrong. There's got to be a sense of respect. There's got to be a sense of do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And in our society, that golden rule right now, how often do you hear of the golden rule being applied? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Right now, it's get your own way or it's the highway, get your own way or condemn or damn the other party. I mean, this country is really divided with hate and divisiveness.
Well, when your son was growing up, did he ever have somebody that he didn't like? He come home and told his dad, I don't like this guy. Are you the person that told him to go beat the guy up?
No, I tell you what, now I've had, and I think any parent goes through this, you did probably with your sons, they're going to come home and say, well, you don't like so-and-so, you don't like this and that, and you've got to sit down and you've got to teach and preach about how to get along or how to go around the problem, and fighting is the last resort, the very last resort. But the problem in this country, fighting now is turned into a primary source of settling the problem, instead of trying to sit down and negotiate and figure out what the problem really is.
Yeah, now I have 3 boys, and my middle son, it seemed like somebody was always challenging him, and so my older son went and took care of things, if you know what I mean.
Well, I do, but what did that do to the psyche of the middle child?
Well, he knew he had his brother to protect him if anybody got too out of hand.
Yeah, but that's not good for later on in life, is it?
No, but some of these things cannot be left unchecked, these disputes.
No, I agree with you there, but I agree with you there, Keith, but as a...
in Baltimore.
Well, as a father and a grandfather, I just want to hear your response. When the big brother goes in and fights the middle brother's battles, later on in life, that's going to be a little damaging to the psyche and the attitude of that middle child, is it not?
Well, it hasn't been so far because both of them learned that there is no winners in a fight.
Well, that's true.
And so they, it finally just kind of took care of itself.
All right. Listen, I do appreciate your call as always, and thank you, Keith. You're a dear friend. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, we need to get together on that other problem you have. Not a problem, but a project.
All right. Well, I will. Today's not a good day, but tomorrow will be a lot better. Thank you so much.
It always is.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I have no idea what happened to Tim Snowball. I made the comment flippantly a moment ago. Maybe he melded. I don't know where he is. He usually is Johnny on the spot with the Pacific Legal Foundation, and we can't find him. My lovely bride and Wheels, everybody's looking for him. And so we can't find them. So your calls will be welcome and appreciated. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, Zeb, every day I wonder what people are thinking when they think they want to, not re-elect Donald Trump. And across this world, right now, the most powerful man on the face of the earth is Donald J. Trump. And when Donald J. Trump speaks, the world listens. And a lot of them are very unhappy about it, but he is rewriting history as we speak. And this is no overstatement. It is unbelievable what he has done under the pressure that he's been under. And to think that we might want to not re-elect him is frightening, because you say to yourself, what person in their right mind would not want to have freedom, economic, a boom, and everything else he's done? The list is so long that there isn't a person I know that can just name them off.
Well, let me ask you this question, Randy. Let me ask you this, and I asked it yesterday on the program to some of my guests, and I said, what if President Trump tomorrow decides that he's had enough? He's not going to take any more of the personal slamming and ramming by the media and everybody else, and he just said, that's it, adios, I've had enough. What then, Randy?
Let's be glad that he is so strong. It's just like they say. I've heard it numerous times, even in the last week, that he looks like he's getting younger. He hasn't aged a bit. Obama, he was going down in a heap, and but Trump, he loves to fight, and you know how it is when you play a game, football game or whatever it is, and you fight, and even if you don't win, you gave her your best.
Yep.
But in Trump's case, he is winning, and he has been beat to a pulp, hasn't he?
I got to ask you a question, and I want you to give me an answer on this really quick. This mess that we've got down on the border with all the illegal aliens coming into our country, where their estimates of 1.5 million or more are going to come into this country this year alone illegally. And then you have presidential candidate nominees like Beto O'Rourke, and he makes a comment yesterday, and I'm quoting, that controlling immigration is cruel. How would you respond to an open borders nutcase like Beto O'Rourke?
It's such a lie, a misrepresentation of the truth. Just recently, they had a flood come across the border in El Paso, where that fool lives. You see, if I lie to you, Zeb, and you know better, then I'm out of your life. I'll never be trusted again. And they lie. The Democratic candidates are all lying. And you say, who is listening to these people? And, it's easy to fool a fool, I guess, huh?
Well, it must be, because most of the Democratic possible nominee wannabes for president are saying and singing the same song about immigration and open borders and socialism, etc. And it's really spooky to me when it reverts back to the question I asked you a few minutes ago. What if Donald Trump decides to hang it up? What then? It's spooky, Randy.
Well, you see, Pence is not Trump, and I don't know who could be Trump. And, You know, I gotta believe there's divine intervention here. And as the days go by, he realizes that his job is to do what exactly he is doing. And, you know, when Christ was on earth, and I'm not comparing Trump to Christ, let's don't get that in our head, but not you, but, you know, people didn't understand him, they didn't trust him, they didn't believe him, and as he hung on the cross, he says, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And we're always going to be surrounded by people who know not what they do.
Absolutely. Boy, that's a good analogy right there. And we're seeing it in hook, line, and sinker with the Democratic Party and the possible wannabes for president. Randy, I got to get a weather forecast on. I appreciate it, old buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, a little bit of feedback on that line. I apologize for that, coming down the headsets anyway. And right now, it's time for our weather forecast. And the weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats at 331 North Road, Jerome. Hello, Don Scarrow. Oh, and by the way, callers, come on, give me a call. I got more time after our weather forecast. They're located at 331 North Road, Jerome. The telephone number to call, 324-7657, or go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. Now, you've got graduations, and you've got family picnics, and you've got company parties, reunions, all of this coming up. Oh, will you be the hero if you call Scarrow's Meats for the meat for your special occasion. Oh, delicious meats. Call them today, 324-7657, Scarrow's Meats in Jerome. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Here's a look at your weather for this Tuesday, and it's going to be another gorgeous day. Wear the sunscreen if you're going to be outside, expecting sunny skies and a high of 79. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 52. Tomorrow, again, another beautiful one. Sunny skies with a high of 81. Slightly breezy winds out of the southwest, right around 7 miles an hour. For Wednesday night, mostly clear skies with a low of 56. Now, by Thursday, we do have a 20% chance of afternoon rain showers and thunderstorms, but it is going to be mostly sunny skies. We are expecting a high of 83, and as that storm moves through, we could have gusts as high as 21 miles an hour. For Thursday night, maybe a slight chance of some evening rain showers and thunderstorms, partly cloudy skies with a low of 49. Then by Friday, 40% chance of showers in the afternoon, mostly sunny and cooling down to 63. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebeth Durant.
And I appreciate it, Gina. Great job. I understand she's going to be going on vacation in a couple of days. Congratulations, and boy, do we envy her. Scarrow's Meats over in Jerome with Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew, 331 North Road, Jerome. That telephone number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi, Zeb. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you. Go ahead.
Good. I want to make a comment about Randy's comments. I'd agree with Randy that I do believe that there's some divine intervention with this president. But I used to deal with a corporation from New York, and you're from back east. You kind of maybe have some experience with this, but those people back there, they're a little different. Mm-hmm. They are tough, and they don't. Fighting is this kind of a way they exist, and I see that in this president. It's not necessarily that it's bad, but they know how to get things done.
No, I totally agree with you, and I'm from the Midwest, not really the East, but I can say that the pugnacious attitude that is pervaded by many New Yorkers, to be specific as to the attitude back there, Donald Trump is a businessman. Donald Trump knows the value of winning and losing in an arbitration over money, big money. We're talking multi-millions and billions. Donald Trump is not going to let somebody cow him or back him into a corner, and I respect that.
Yeah, and for that reason, I don't see him backing away from this next election.
No, I totally agree with you, but the point I wanted to make in asking that question, what if he says adios? I mean, there's other factors that come into play, his wife, his family, his sons, health issues, whatever. What if all of a sudden Donald Trump was out of the scene? We would be in a complete turmoil against what's happening with the 24, 25 wannabes on the Democratic ticket. It's scary.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But and then on the same sense, he's this type of guy that, you know, he's bring the fight on. I'll step up and do it.
I agree with that. I like that. Bring the fight on. I like the way you said that. I wish I had more time to talk to you, but I got to pay some bills quickly and wrap up the program. But I agree with you, and that's the way I'm going to remember our conversation. Bring the fight on. I like that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good man right there. Appreciate that. Bring the fight on. That's Donald Trump. You know, that's kind of the way to sum it up. Want to remind you, too, about our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires. All the different tread designs, all the different sizes. Many, many, many of which are on sale right now, so you can save money buying for your car, pickup truck, SUV, your camp trailers, horse trailers, whatever. They've got all your tires. And along with that, the best of brake service. They've got highly trained brake technicians and ready to serve you with the front end alignment, shocks and struts, the batteries, all of this and more. And again, I reiterate every time I say this, the best of service. They come out to your pickup, your car. May we help you? And yes, they will. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, really nice folks, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. What do we got cooking for tomorrow? Well, we've got Dave Bigo. We've got our dear friend Dave Roper's going to be on the air with us. He's going to be here in the studio at 10 o'clock. We've got a lot of things cooking, and we urge you to stay tuned with us starting at 8:06 as we'll ride the horse for 3 hours right here on this program, Zeb at the Ranch. And we always say the way things were, the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. Until tomorrow morning at 8:06. We want you to have a great, sunshiny, beautiful day. We'll see you then. Wheels, thanks, old buddy. Talk to you in the morning.